The Young and the Restless scoop for Monday, October 13th reveals Nick Newman will get a highly alarming call from Sharon Newman. Also coming up, Victor Newman and Nikki Newman will be upset. Plus, Phyllis Summers will get agitated with Cain Ashby. And Kyle Abbott will press Victoria Newman for details on Claire Newman's whereabouts. Y&R spoilers tease Nick will tell Adam Newman and Chelsea Lawson that Sharon's out in LA, but she can't get in touch with Noah Newman. He'll say he'll feel better once he gets there. So, he's heading to the ranch to tell Victor he's going. Chelsea and Adam will end up at Society. Victoria will walk in, and they'll tell her Nick decided to go to LA, and he's breaking the news to Victor. That should go over well, Victoria will reply. They'll invite her to join them. Victoria will thank them for the invite. She gets a little lonely sometimes. I bet you never thought you'd say that to me, Adam will quip. Chelsea will ask about Claire, and Victoria will say she's a little concerned. Her daughter's meeting Holden Novak in LA. She'll admit she wonders if this trip may not be a good idea. Then Kyle will walk up behind her. I couldn't agree more, he'll say. He'll ask Victoria if he can talk to her. Kyle will tell her he's going to LA himself. Victoria will ask if Claire knows he's coming. No, I need your help, he'll reply. Kyle will say Holden is bad news, and he'll ask Victoria for Claire's address in LA. Victoria will say giving that to him is a bad idea. This is Claire's decision to make, not mine, and certainly not yours. At the GCAC restaurant, Cain will tell Phyllis he needs to change the way people think about him. You want me, of all people, to help me with your image? She'll ask. Cain will say he needs her. Once again, he'll talk about losing the respect of his kids. Phyllis will ask what his plan is. Not surprisingly, he doesn't have one. It's just a notion of a plan. So, he's considering doing something positive with the AI software. But Phyllis thought they were going to use it to get something for themselves. Cain will say no one likes to be the villain, and Phyllis will say some people like it. And you've been doing a great job impersonating the villain, she'll add. Are you that thin-skinned? But Cain will say he wants to change the narrative. He'd give it all up in a second to reconnect with Lily Winters and his children. Phyllis will be perturbed and say this isn't what they planned. Billy was right about you. You don't know what you're doing from one minute to the next. He'll get up and storm away, but Phyllis will follow him. You're just like the rest of them, aren't you? She'll say. You're going to use me for my talents, and you're going to discard me. Phyllis will say the only one standing by him right now is her. She'll say she's the only one who can help him, so she'll tell him to give her the AI, and Cain will consider it. Meanwhile, Nick will arrive at the ranch to find Victor and Nikki Newman blabbing about the article on Cain. He'll say he's booked a flight to LA. I'm not coming here to ask permission, Dad. I'm leaving. But Victor will tell Nick he should allow Noah to solve his problems on his own. He'll add they're facing difficult times there, and he wants him to stay home. Nick will point out, and rightly so, that all they ever do is sit around plotting against Cain. Eventually, Victor will say if Nick really needs to be there, he has his blessing. Then Sharon will call, and Nick will put it on speakerphone. She'll say he needs to get to LA. Oh my God! Oh my God! Sharon will cry. It's happening again! It's Cassie all over again! Please! Please! Nick will ask what's going on and where she's calling from. Sharon will say she's at the hospital. Noah's been in a car accident and it's really bad. Nick will ask Sharon to send him the address of the hospital. Nick, you need to get here soon. Noah needs you. I need you, she'll reply. Finally, Victor will tell Nick to use his jet. Nikki will say if they need him, they can be on the next flight to LA. Nick will tell his parents he loves them, and he'll take off. Oh my God, a teary-eyed Nikki will say to Victor as he takes her in his arms. Keep reading the Soap Scoop for Young and the Restless spoilers and news. And make sure to also join our Y&R Facebook group or leave us a reply in our comments section. But if you miss an episode, don't fret. You can watch The Young and the Restless online at cbs.com. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Julie, here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. For the past few months on The Young and the Restless, we've been watching a never-ending cycle of who will acquire Cain's AI program. Yesterday, Jack told Diane he intends to obtain the program and use it to crush Newman Enterprises. But wouldn't it be soapy if Audra teamed up with him to conquer Victor? We know she and Jack are not exactly allies, but let's examine this fun possibility closely. On Thursday's episode of The Young and the Restless, Jack made a stunning announcement to Diane that he is banking on Cain relinquishing his AI software to Jill. Then, Jack believes Jill will hand the software to him, after which he will use it to demolish NE. Diane was ecstatic and said she would be in on that plan 100%. Jack is being awfully confident that it will all work out in exactly that way. So why not bring in a cunning and fearless businesswoman like Audra to assist him? Sure, Jack and Audra don't like each other, but they both hate Victor and would love to score a win against him. Jack doesn't trust Audra, since she conspired with Victor to break up Kyle and Claire. But Audra could make it clear that she only did it out of desperation, because she needed funding for her company, Vibrante. She turned to the wrong businessman to help her, and she regrets doing so. Besides, Claire told Kyle repeatedly that the reason she ended their relationship wasn't about him. It was because she needs time on her own to find herself. Both Diane and Kyle would adamantly oppose the idea of Jack teaming up with Audra, but Kyle plans to fly to LA to pursue Claire, so he wouldn't even need to know about his father's scheme with the woman he's always fighting with. Diane despises Audra, so Jack would have to keep it a secret from her, for the time being at least. This would ultimately create even more drama and conflict on the Young and the Restless when she finds out eventually. It would test the strong marital bond we've witnessed between them, and isn't that what soaps are all about? Hopefully, they would work through it in the end, and it would provide some great material for all the actors to play out. Audra wouldn't have to worry about Nate finding out about her scheme with Jack to take down Victor, since she and Nate are not together anymore. She would probably love to team up with anyone in Genoa City who has a plan to demolish Victor and his precious company. Since she and Jack are both strong-willed business people, they might make interesting partners in crime, even if it's only a temporary alignment. Her best friend, Sally, would not want Audra to get involved in such a scheme. But Audra could keep quiet about it, so that would create great drama between the two friends once Sally eventually finds out what her pal did. Jack and Audra rarely share scenes together on The Young and the Restless, if ever. But maybe it's time they do. It would be fun to see them strategize and come up with a sinister plan to sabotage Newman Enterprises using the AI software. Who knows? By the time it's all over, maybe they would gain a mutual respect for each other's business savvy. Into The Young and the Restless Daily YAPP. For a quick, and by that I mean you're already halfway done, recap of the most amazing or what the heck did we just watch moments on today's episode. Let's get to it. Christine's plans for a drink with Lauren and Danny's meeting Michael for a drink at the jazz club hit a snag when Mr. and Mrs. Baldwin showed up one right after the other, loaded for bear. Unbeknownst to the bride and groom, the Baldwins had been bickering over Michael keep a secret from Lauren that he returned to working with Victor Newman. The energy with which LeBlanc and Bergman entered the room was electric. Sure, The Young and the Restless is a dramatic serial, but the way Michael and Lauren were bickering back and forth, the show veered into a French farce with Danny and Cricket put in the position of problem solvers. After watching Michael and Lauren banter back and forth as if they were playing verbal tennis at Wimbledon, Cricket and Danny decided to divide and conquer. Cricket took Michael aside and argued her case to him. She wasn't speaking like a lawyer, but rather a dear friend who wanted Michael to meet his wife halfway so that they could reunite. Conversely, Danny took Lauren to a neutral corner and softened her up by getting her to talk about Michael's good qualities. As entertaining as the comic banter was at the top of the show, the sweet reconciliation was the moment we truly wanted to see. By episode's end, the Baldwins reconciled, agreeing to have more open communication. The couple's union remains intact. So, both Lauren and Michael won't be lining up to catch the bride's bouquet or the groom's garter when the big wedding on The Young and the Restless takes place, as both of them are happily committed to one another. Want more details? We got you! Soap Central has the best full Y&R recaps on the internet. You can even go back over 30 years and read each and every one of them. If you can't wait until the next episode, we have daily spoilers too. And whatever you do this weekend, do not Seriously, do not. Forget to read the 2 scoops for some laughs in the as close as we can come to being a watching party without actually being a show. And the best part is, if you agree or disagree, we want to know. As always, share your comments below. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Tuesday, October 14th, imply that Kyle Abbott will make a shady move, while Jill Abbott decides on something major where Billy Abbott is concerned, and new character Sienna Bacall debuts. Kyle was rejected by yet another Newman woman, this time Victoria Newman, during the October 13th episode, when he asked Claire Newman's mom for her daughter's address in Los Angeles on Monday's show. It was a hard no from Vicky. The mom expressed Claire's need for space. However, it sounds like Kyle will do something sketchy to get his way, so he can head down to Los Angeles and win Claire back. Is someone going to tell him that it'll never happen if he goes through with this plan? Speaking of LA, fans will see Sienna in her glory as a bar owner of a hotspot in Hollywood. Sienna will interact with old friend Holden Novak as he enjoys Vespers with his new friend Claire. Things will get awkward when Sienna brings up Audra Charles' name as Holden's ex-girlfriend. So here's hoping that he and Claire can get back on track with having fun on their little getaway. Still, what will Claire and Y&R fans think of Sienna? Finally, Jill will make a massive decision that affects her relationship with Billy. This begs the question, what relationship? Billy has disowned her and doesn't even refer to her as mom anymore. Jill is desperate to rekindle their mother-son connection, so what's the big choice she makes? The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest there's a good chance that Jill decides to give up on Billy altogether. But it's so hard to think that the mama bear would do something like that. However, she always does have Cain Ashby as backup plan son if Billy never comes around. The Young and the Restless spoilers preview notes that November sweeps will explode in Genoa City as Christine Blair and Danny Romalotti get hitched. Cain Ashby drops a bombshell, and a major character debut unravels. Although, as of this writing, there's still uncertainty surrounding Roger Howarth's character. He's slated to first appear on the soap sometime in the late fall, and all arrows are pointing toward a November debut. Sweeps month would be the perfect time for Howarth to appear, and since he began filming with the CBS soap in mid-September, and the show films several weeks ahead of time, it could mean he steps foot in GC next month. Meanwhile, Cain recently threatened to sue Newman Media over the hit piece they wrote about his dad, Colin Atkinson, so the proverbial poop could hit the fan in November. There have been mentions that there are no sources to back up the story that Colin conned Madame de Leon under the alias of Lord Jeremy Edgerton for her money and estate in Nice, and if Victor Newman forged the letter, Newman Media could be in a lot of trouble. Chesley Lawson and Adam Newman simply followed Victor's orders, so they'll be mighty upset if this was a setup the entire time. Their reputations are on the line, so chaos may erupt at the Newman estate if Cain can offer up the proof that his father is innocent of these accusations. Finally, Christine and Danny's wedding will take place during November sweeps, so fans should expect some sweet moments as the couple says their I do's for the second time. But will it go off without a hitch? Do weddings in soaps ever run smoothly? There have been hints that Phyllis Summers may cause problems for the couple that everyone loves, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest that November sweeps will bring cooler temperatures, but the drama will heat up in Genoa City, as the month will be jam-packed with episodes fans won't want to miss. The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest that while Jack Abbott is a busy bee in the land of Genoa City, so is his portrayer, Peter Bergman, who is also juggling a ton of different balls as the actor is stepping outside the soap opera world, joining the cast of the sci-fi series Pluribus. The show airs on Apple TV+ and is slated to debut on Friday, November 7th. The first 2 episodes will be released simultaneously, and the rest of the 9-show season will drop every Friday until December 26th. Pluribus takes place in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and centers around a mysterious virus that is spreading across the United States. The illness makes people continuously happy, and only one individual is immune, an author who is troubled by the name of Carol Sturka. Bergman is profiled in the series trailer as a figure from the White House who talks to Carol via a C-SPAN type call. While Bergman's tone does sound calm, there's something a little off about his voice and demeanor. Others in the cast of Pluribus include Carolina Widra, who plays Zosia, Carlos Manuel Vesga in the role of Manusos, and Miriam Shore as Helen, just to name a few. While it doesn't appear that Bergman is leaving his role as Jack Abbott anytime soon, it'll be interesting to see him in this new genre. Bergman's acting roots lay in daytime drama, where he first played Cliff Warner on All My Children from 1979 to 1989, and then moved to the Y&R later in 1989 to become the Jack Abbott recast, taking over from Terry Lester. Bergman has been nominated over 20 times for a Daytime Emmy in the category of Lead Actor for his role as Jack on the Y&R, including in 2025. He's won the award 4 times during his career. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that Jack is currently involved in an interesting storyline where he's partnered up with longtime rival Victor Newman. But in typical fashion, both men have their eyes on stabbing each other in the back. The holidays are still several weeks away, but The Young and the Restless was handing out presents in the form of fan-favorite veterans and beloved character shoutouts this week. It felt like Old Home Week on Y&R this week, with the return of Jill Abbott, played by Jess Walton. The 3 people who need to be part of Cain's story are his twins, Maddie and Charlie, and Jill, his surrogate mother. We got 33.3% of our wish on that front with the return of Jill. Walton walks back into Genoa City as if no time had passed, picking up with relationships old and new with ease. This is picky, but we never ever hear reference that Jill and Nicky were once related by marriage, courtesy of her marriage to Greg Foster. But that's probably because that occurred before the introduction of the Newmans and the Abbotts. We loved hearing nods to the late Catherine Chancellor, who was Nicky's bestie and Jill's longtime frenemy. Later in the week, we also got a snapper shout-out when Jill said she was going to England to see her doctor brother for some care. And during her talk with Cain, Jill made a fond reference to Colin's ridiculous smile, even in his final days. Daniel mentioned Chance when he was talking to Tessa about ways to help Mariah. We had to wait for Jack and Jill to have a sit-down, lengthy chat, but it was worth it. These 2 characters have decades of history. It's a shame Jill's already talking about leaving Genoa City again. We're all on board for Jack's stepmother to move back to town permanently. This was the week for historical references. During a conversation at Society between Phyllis and Nick, Phyllis referenced her tormented past with her late father, an embezzler. This served as a reminder of the differences between people like Phyllis, who came from nothing and had to fight for every scrap they got in life, and people like Jack, Victor's kids, and others, who are born into wealth. Phyllis is willing to risk a lot by rolling the dice with Cain. Talks like the one she had with Nick justify why she is so passionate about her role in Genoa City. Phyllis appeared to earn Victor's respect when the 2 talked at Society. Victor called her over, and the 2 engaged in a mind game over coffee and French toast. Phyllis also had a great interaction with her son Daniel this week. It didn't ring true that Danny would have given up a confidence that Daniel shared with his dad to Phyllis so she could use it against him. It does make sense that Phyllis would guess what Daniel had done that, and she'd trick him into confirming it. It's great fun watching Phyllis's wheels spin. She's often 2 steps ahead of her family, friends, and foes. She spoke with wisdom when she said that unrequited love was one of the worst feelings ever. She's trying to make sure Daniel's heart doesn't get broken, as he's grown quite fond of Tessa. He may have to simply wave goodbye to her and Mariah if and when they reconcile, and the mystery of Mariah nearly killing a man gets resolved. We waited all summer for Newman Media to print an expose on Cain. Thankfully, Adam has now done it. There's only so much viewers can take with people threatening to do this and threatening to do that. Somebody pull the trigger! We also liked Chelsea standing by Adam, not only figuratively, but literally, too. Chelsea's the perfect match for Adam. As a con artist who has lived on the outside, she can relate to Adam's feeling like he's the black sheep of the Newman clan. This doesn't mean she's not going to try to compliment her partner. We were surprised when Cain showed up after the damaging article was published. Why go to the enemy camp like that? It'd be more effective to somehow make people come to him. As a matter of fact, Isn't Cain supposed to be the owner of the Genoa City Athletic Club? When Y&R dropped that little tidbit into dialogue, we expected many locales to walk through the revolving doors into the club only to be greeted by Cain and have them make a quip about losing their appetites or needing to go patronize society. Adam and Chelsea talked about Cain's story being vetted by Newman media lawyers. So, how exactly can Billy sue? At times like this, we wonder why Abbott Communications was shelved. This would have been a great opportunity for Billy to ingratiate himself with Cain by offering him a platform that would take the opposing side of the Newman story. For that matter, why didn't Cain buy up the Genoa City Chronicle? It'd be a great way to reintegrate Leslie Brooks back into the show, as she could easily have a stake in the Chronicle given her father, Stuart Brooks's ties to the publication. It was fun watching Michael and Tracy squabble at the jazz lounge over his fibbing to her about going back to work with Victor. When we saw the teaser that Michael and Christine were going to chat, and when we saw Danny and Lauren put their heads together, we thought a walk down memory lane might be in order. There's so much history among these four. However, this episode was more about getting the couple back together. We were surprised that Cricket asked Lauren to be her maid of honor. Like Jill and Nikki's connection through Greg Foster, Cricket and Lawrence are tied together because Lauren was once married to Cricket's half-brother Scott. But that's a dynamic that's never referred to, just as Cricket's connection to the Abbotts has been mostly ignored. Remember when Chris's mother, Jessica E., was married to John Abbott? Technically, Cricket and Jack, Tracy, and Ashley are all one-time step-siblings. It does seem odd that Cricket wouldn't reach out to Nina to be her maid of honor. We're just hoping that Cain's invited to the gala so that Nina can rip into him. Jack made the most sense when it came to Cain's AI software. Cain should give it to Jill. After all, Cain trusts her. Jill could get rid of the software, and then the moguls in Genoa City could go back to playing business games on a more even playing field. If Cain is looking to re-win Lily's heart and have a better relationship with his kids, he'd do well to destroy the AI software. We can't think of a better way for him to make amends. Jill believes in Cain. We love to see Jill say, "I told you so." It's a win, my win. It was great seeing Cain admit that his goal was more to get Jill and Billy back together, and not get Lily to love him again. Why would Lily want to reunite with Cain if he destroyed Newman, Jabot, Chancellor Industries, and other companies from within? We know that we have to suspend belief with soaps at times, but we do find it rather odd that Maddie and Charlie want nothing to do with the billionaire father. Cain should know that people can be bought. Charlie and Maddie must have dreams and goals. Cain can make those things happen. The business stories on Y&R excite us when personal factors are introduced to the boardroom. Cain ran by Jack what the power players in Genoa City would do if each of them got their hands on the AI software. While Jack isn't as out for blood at times with Victor, it was still a surprise to hear Jack say he'd use it to take Victor down. But it makes sense because Victor has gone after Jack and his family for far too long. We got a chill when Jack said, "Sure," when Diane said to him that he'd destroy the software. Even more pleasantly surprising was to hear Diane say she was all in with Jack's plan, and they sealed it with a passionate kiss. These two have one of the best marriages not only in Genoa City, but in all of daytime television. The Young and the Restless recap for Monday, October 13th states that Noah Newman will fight for his life in Los Angeles, while Cain Ashby and Phyllis Summers shared a very close moment. The show opened with Chelsea Lawson and Adam Newman amazed at how well that hit piece on Cain and his father, Colin Atkinson, was doing. Nick Newman walked in, and they gave him updates on Cain's visit from the Friday, October 10th show, where he threatened a lawsuit and suggested having a new story for them to publish soon. Nick announced he was going to head to LA as the Cain story was now out there, and he was worried about Noah. Sharon Newman sensed something off with their son, so Schick had planned a getaway to LA to check in on their son. Both Chelsea and Adam agreed that Nick's place was in LA with Sharon and Noah, so if Victor Newman fussed about it, they'd back him up. Nick headed to the Newman ranch to tell his father his plans. Speaking of the ranch, Victor was there with Nikki Newman and Victoria Newman. The parents brought Victoria up to speed on the Cain article and his threats, and Victoria wondered if her dad was worried. Victor replied he wasn't concerned, more just cautious, as he could feel a retaliation coming from their adversary. Victoria takes off, and Nick arrives, telling his dad he's going to jump on a plane and join Sharon and Noah in LA. At first, Victor challenged him, but when Nick relayed his concerns with Noah, he gave his stamp of approval. Eventually, as soon as Victor gives his okay, Nick gets a call from Sharon. She's doing the ugly mom cry as she tells Nick that Noah's in the hospital after a car crash. The distraught mom says it's like Cassie 2.0, referring to the fact that their eldest daughter, Cassie Newman, died in a car accident so many years ago. Victor immediately organizes the Newman jet for Nick, and he takes off to be with Sharon and Noah. Over to Phyllis and Cain, they arrive at the GCAC bar from Cain's train cab, ready to talk strategy. Cain wants to change the public's perception of him, but Phyllis questions whether she's the right person for the job. After all, she is the town baddie, right? With that said, Cain proposes using his infamous AI software, but instead of unleashing it for evil intentions, like ruining family legacies, Cain wants to use it for good. Phyllis scoffs at the idea. Can't Cain just donate a ton of money to a charity or something? Cain is adamant about not only changing his public image, thanks to the Newman media article, but also wants to win back Lily Winters' heart and reconnect with the twins. Phyllis wonders if he should find someone else. She's not into this scenario, so Cain gets up to walk away and Phyllis follows him. Phyllis agrees that maybe she is the one to help him if he gives her the AI software to feel the program out. Cain instantly nixes the idea. How can he trust her with it? She immediately insists he can trust her, gets real close to him, and it looks like they may kiss, but they don't. Cain agrees that if Phyllis gives him some scenarios, he may think about giving her the AI software. She saunters off, giving him a spicy look as she walks through the GCAC doors. Cain then dials Lily's number and says he does not want to leave a message. He just wanted to hear her voice. The entire phone call seemed very creepy, considering they are no longer together. Over at Society, Chelsea and Adam are celebrating the Newman media article's success when Vicky walks in to pick up her takeout. They insist that she join them, and she agrees to. The three make small talk, and Claire Newman is brought up, as Victoria mentions. Her daughter is in LA with a new friend, Holden Novak. Chelsea and Adam connect Holden as the guy who is working with Cain, and Vicky admits that she doesn't exactly like the idea of Claire with him in LA. This is when Kyle walks into Society and jumps into the conversation, agreeing with Victoria. When they separate from Chelsea and Adam, Kyle asks Vicky for Claire's address in LA. He tells her he is planning on going to Los Angeles to win her back and tries to convince Victoria that Holden cannot be trusted. Vicky insists that her daughter needs to make her own decisions on her own mistakes. She also points out that Claire wanted some space. Victoria refuses Kyle's request for Claire's address in LA, and he isn't too happy about it. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that Kyle will be relentless in this pursuit of joining Claire in LA, so fans need to stay tuned to see what kind of sketchy moves he'll make to secure her address. The Young and the Restless spoilers weekly update for October 13th to 17 tease that Sharon makes a distress call before receiving shocking news. Plus, Nate comforts Victoria as Jill makes a big decision that could affect her relationship with Billy. Tune in next week so you can catch all of the action in Genoa City. Monday, October 6th, 2025. Episode number 13225. Victor plotted the takedown of Cain, showing he was still willing to use every resource at his disposal to stay on top. Kyle and Audra's ongoing battle escalated, their war reaching the point of no return as neither seemed ready to back down. Meanwhile, Jack revealed that he had his own trick up his sleeve, keeping his cards close to his chest as tensions around him grew. Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. Episode number 13226. Nikki settled unfinished business with Jill. The two remembered Kay before things got more contentious. The confrontation reminded both women of their long, complicated history. Meanwhile, Tessa grew increasingly worried about Mariah's safety, her fears highlighting just how vulnerable their family had become. At the same time, Nick questioned Phyllis's growing alliance with Cain. His concerns revealed his unease about her judgment and loyalties, especially given Cain's current situation. Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. Episode number 132227. Victor dropped shocking news on Jill about Cain, catching her off guard and leaving her to wonder how deeply this revelation might affect her family. Nikki was still in search of answers, determined to dig until she uncovered the truth. Jack, on the other hand, pressed Cain to make the right decision, trying to steer him toward a path that wouldn't destroy what was left of his reputation. Thursday, October 9th, 2025. Episode number 13228. Jack took measures to protect his family's interests, making it clear he was ready to push back against any threat that put Abbott's stability at risk. Nick broke away from the fold, going rogue with his own agenda, leaving those close to him worried about his direction. At the same time, Jill and Lily confronted Cain about his past. Their united front forced him to face old wounds and unfinished business, making the confrontation one of the most pivotal moments of the week. Friday, October 10th, 2025. Episode number 133229. Victor rewarded Adam and Chelsea for their loyalty in exposing Cain, reinforcing his belief in their work at Newman Media and reminding them of his power to make or break alliances. Meanwhile, Cricket and Danny made a heartfelt decision about their wedding, bringing some joy and stability in the midst of chaos. Elsewhere, Phyllis landed in a compromising position. Y&R was filled with some sweet and wholesome, yet dramatic moments this week. The Young and the Restless continued to bring the drama during the week of October 6-10. From business confrontations to former lovers sharing scenes, here's a look at a few memorable moments. It's always a good moment whenever Schick is together. This week, Sharon and Nick planned their next getaway. The exes were going to see Noah again, this time in Los Angeles, where he's opening a new club. Although Nick's flight would be delayed because of Newman family business, he promised Sharon he'd be there. The show has been hinting at a Schick reunion for some time, and it could finally be happening. Sharon and Nick's latest scenes, along with their trip to California, might ignite the long-awaited Schick reunion. This week, Jill was summoned to the Newman Ranch by Nikki. As expected, the two got into a heated argument about Cain, but prior to that, the rivals shared a heartwarming moment. Nikki thanked Jill for the Chancellor and said running Catherine's company means the world to her. Jill smiled as Nikki talked about their late friend and Jill's sometime rival. Jill commended Nikki on her work with Chancellor and said Catherine would be proud. Nikki and Jill reminiscing about Catherine was a nice, sentimental touch for Tuesday's dramatic episode. Victor is trying to stay on top in his battle with Cain, but it might be Cain's business partner, Phyllis, that he should worry about. During a recent run-in at Society, the two couldn't resist trading barbs. The mustache warned Phyllis that teaming with Cain was a bad idea, and their downfall is coming. However, Victor failed to rattle Phyllis, who fired back with her own accusations. She accused Victor of being scared because Cain's a legitimate threat. She then warned that Victor's days at the top are over, as she and Cain are taking over his spot. While Victor is confident he'll win the war, Phyllis's words might have him shaking in his boots. Phyllis landed herself in two top Y&R moments this week. After her run-in with Victor, Phyllis met with Daniel and immediately wound up her son. Phyllis mentioned Daniel's feelings for Tessa, which he denied. But Phyllis knows her son is in love because of the way he lights up around Tessa. Daniel kept repeating that he and Tessa are just friends, and he's offering support during Mariah's crisis. Phyllis advised him that he's going to get hurt because of his unrequited love for Tessa, and it's time to cut her loose. An annoyed Daniel told his mom to stay out of his life because he could handle everything. Cain is the bad guy because he has his hands on AI software, which could help him acquire everyone's companies. But he's not the first to do it. Cain is being portrayed as the villain of Genoa City on The Young and the Restless on October 10th. Even he's considering changing his image after all that went down in Nice. But is Cain as bad as Jack or Victor? Cain has been a well-known con artist for some time. This isn't the first time he's lied and manipulated people, but this is the first time that he's disguised himself as the elusive Aristotle Dumas. Aristotle was a billionaire who was hidden away in Nice. He amassed his fortune by acquiring properties from others. Now, he wants to make more money by stealing from other people's companies. It's the same old con for Cain. Rather than setting out to achieve success on his own, he believes he can benefit from the successes of others. Yes, that makes him nefarious. However, he's not the only bad person in Genoa City. Victor, for instance, has done the same. He most recently stole Jabot away from the abbots. Jack isn't any better. He's trying to convince Jill to hand over Cain's AI software to him so it can get destroyed. But secretly, he wants to use it to acquire Newman Enterprises. In the meantime, Cain wants to rehab his image. His family has been on his mind a lot lately. Cain's kids won't talk to him after they learn that he's a billionaire. Most kids would be thrilled. But not Cain's kids. They don't want to be associated with him. Plus, Cain's working hard to get Lily back in his life. So far, that hasn't worked well in his favor. She brings up their kids every time they talk. So can Cain prove that he's a changed person now? He's enlisting Phyllis's help, which is a bad idea. This is a person who's not self-aware of her own sins and crimes. This could be a losing battle for Cain. However, this business move doesn't make him worse than Jack or Victor, who would likely do the same and have done far worse in the past. The Young and the Restless spoilers and updates suggest that Phyllis Summers and Cain Ashby might be preparing for a steamy train rendezvous. It appears that this pair could find themselves caught in a compromising situation, so let's discuss what's ahead on the CBS soap. To begin with, Nick Newman is set to once again attempt to prevent Phyllis from making a big mistake. It just doesn't seem he can stop from playing the hero. As far as Nick is concerned, the partnership between Phyllis and Cain can only lead to catastrophe. The last thing he wants is for Phyllis to end up behind bars because Cain has pulled her into a situation that's too deep. This could very well become a grim reality for Phyllis if she goes through with illegal activities for Cain amid all the AI software chaos. Naturally, there have been some uncertainties regarding the actual existence of that software. There's currently no evidence to support it, but the looming threat has certainly unsettled several important figures in Genoa City. Cain might be bluffing to unsettle his rivals, but Phyllis truly trusts Cain's software and is prepared to proceed with it. When Nick confronts her during the grilling session, Phyllis will stand up for Cain in their unusual bond. Cain and Phyllis understand each other well, so Phyllis could argue that they owe no explanations to anyone else. At the same time, Cain will also be under pressure from those he cares about. Both Jill Abbott and Lily Winters will confront Cain regarding his past, which could lead to discussions about the good, the bad, and the ugly. This situation may unfold because of the significant media attack that Victor Newman is about to launch against Cain, with Adam Newman and Chelsea Lawson. Once Cain is upset by that media coverage and feels awful after the upcoming interrogation, he might seek comfort from Phyllis. We know that Phyllis will be caught in a compromising position as the week of October 6 to 10 comes to a close. So could this lead to some intense passion with Cain? Lily might forget something after her confrontation with Cain and return to witness something surprising. Regardless, Phyllis will be linked with an unexpected love interest in the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for any romantic developments that may involve Cain. The Young and the Restless spoilers and updates suggest that Tessa Porter and Daniel Romalotti might kiss. This could happen while they are in Boston after Mariah Copeland turns down her wife. Tessa has been experiencing a tumultuous time for weeks, coping with Mariah's PTSD following a disastrous business trip. Shortly after the incident, Mariah left Tessa and their daughter, Aria Copeland Porter, and Tessa turned to Daniel for support during her marital issues. While away on business for Cassidy 1, Mariah got drunk at a hotel, met an older man named Will Hensley, and they became close that evening. They were seen being quite intimate at the bar before heading to one of the rooms. However, what transpired afterward remains unclear. Mariah confessed to attempting to suffocate Will, but the good news is that he survived. The hotel staff observed that the man left quickly in the middle of the night, seemed shaken, but was alive. Mariah traveled to Boston for therapy. This week, Tessa expressed how much she missed her wife. She decided to visit her, and her new best friend Daniel agreed to go with her. Naturally, Daniel has developed feelings for Tessa, even though she is unaware of this. They have connected through their guitar lessons, and he has been a source of support for Tessa as her marriage has fallen apart. That being said, Daniel knows that Tessa doesn't feel the same way about him, and that she is still in love with Mariah, so his desire to help is genuine. He cares about Tessa, admires her strength, and respects her. Daniel simply wants to support Tessa so she doesn't face challenges alone. Additionally, he promised Mariah he would look after her and Arya. However, there's a strong possibility that when Tessa and Daniel arrive in Boston, Mariah won't want to see her wife. Mariah has consistently pushed Tessa away during this whole process, so why would that change now? It's easy to picture Tessa arriving at the Boston clinic, eager to see Mariah, only for her wife to react negatively and send her away. She might also tell Tessa that their marriage is over and no way to fix things. Mariah went to Boston to improve her health, and Tessa's unexpected arrival could threaten those efforts. It also breaks the boundaries that Mariah set, and the pain of rejection and the finality of her marriage being over might leave Tessa feeling vulnerable and exposed. She will rely on Daniel, but in the midst of uplifting her and giving her supportive words, could she lean in for a kiss? Upcoming spoilers for the CBS soap suggest that it wouldn't be too surprising for Mariah and Tessa to end their relationship. Then, only for Tessa to move on with Daniel and for Mariah to come back from Boston, ready to try their marriage again. The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest that Jill Abbott may give Billy Abbott a peace offering to mend fences between them. Jill wants Cain Ashby to get rid of his AL software, and spoilers suggest that he may give it to her, especially after his latest confrontation with Lily Winters. Will Jill use the software to get Chancellor back and give it to Billy as a peace offering? There has been a lot of talk that Jill is the only person who can get through to Cain. Everyone believes that Jill can get that AI program away from Cain and neutralize him. Victor Newman expects Jill to get the program away from Cain and give it to him to use again Jabot. Meanwhile, Jack believes he can talk Jill into giving him the program so he can use it to take down Victor. What if Jill decides to keep it and use the program herself? Victor has already published his blast piece on Cain, angering Lily and the children against him even more. Jill tried to come to Cain's defense, but that didn't help. Cain's world has instead been flipped upside down. Jill is the only one who seems to believe Cain's story on this one. Jill has tried to tell Cain that he needs to use his actions and not this words to get through to his kids. Jill has hyped him as best she can before she leaves him alone. Cain has also urged Jill to make up with Billy and make things right with her son. Jill may decide that selling Chancellor to Victor was a mistake, considering how he is acting. How? Will she take Chancellor back? Perhaps Jill will let Victor believe that she is going to give him the AI program and steal Chancellor from him, using the program instead. Both Victor and Nikki Newman would be furious if Jill did this. However, Jill needs to do something if she plans to fix things with Billy. Will Billy finally get his win by Jill taking back Chancellor and giving it to him as it should have been in the first place? Jill may feel justified by doing this, considering how Victor has always treated Billy. Will the AI program be what helps get Chancellor back where it belongs? Will Billy finally forgive his mother for what she has done with Chancellor? Can Billy prove himself if he gets Chancellor back under his control?